Good evening. Welcome to our latest edition of Lean Launch Series. I'm joined by our business faculty professor, Faustino Dagdag. This is part of a recurring monthly series where Dag touches upon topics related to the launch methodology. My name is Chris Bailey. I'm the manager of the Waihoa Value-Added Product Development Center. It's so good to have everyone here tonight. Just a couple quick reminders. We are recording this session. It will be available later on the Leeward Community College YouTube channel. And to stay up on events like this, webinars such as this, workshops, and other offerings that we do at the Waihoa Value-Added Product Development Center, you can sign up for our e-newsletter, which is linked on our website, leeward.hawaii.edu/WVAPDC, and also our Instagram. Our handle is Waihoa Food Innovation. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dag.
Hi everyone, how are you all doing this evening? I know it's 5:35, and you probably just came out of traffic, and I really appreciate you all joining us. Chris and I always appreciate you joining us for these little talk story sessions that hopefully has some meaning for you and your business. This evening's discussion is kind of timely. I believe it's quite timely, and it's all about revenue streams. So what I want to do is get into some slides, but also want to get some ideas from you in terms of how your business. Anyone want to share, given the current economic situation that we're facing, what are some of the things that you are concerned about?
I'm concerned about the prices of everything that's going to go up in the next couple months. I know it's already started, but uh, well, with this with Trump, we don't know what direction we're going to be going to in Hawaii because we're so isolated from the United States.
Mm. So, Derek, thank you for sharing. And you are absolutely correct. The prices are, in fact, Walmart just this afternoon has announced that they will be setting higher prices, and
Yep.
that's a general concern for all businesses and as well as the public. These incremental rising of pricing is going to have a cumulative effect that may be detrimental to a business and especially to the budgets of everyone. And this evening's subject about revenue streams hopefully will help to try and mitigate some of the effects of these price ranges. So let's get into tonight's, talks. I call it talk story. It's not a lecture. It's not a presentation. It's a talk story. So let me pop up my slides, and we're going to start off. We're going to start off with a little history of economy in the state of Hawaii. So let me get to that slide right now. Yeah, share my screen with all of you. All right, there we go. So as part of our Lean Launch series, this is the sixth session of our Lean Launch methodology of starting a business. And so right now, multiple revenue streams are so important. And again, I want to start off with a little history of economics in the state of Hawaii. And so what you're looking at now is a set of quite, economic recessions or depressions, or what we call it, slowdowns that affected the state, in fact, affected the entire United States and sometimes globally. I want to just go through it and give you some background. Like the OPEC oil embargoes, 1973, 1981, there was an early set of recessions. Black Monday, 1987, 2001, the dot-com crash, 2001, September 11th. And then this is the one that might be familiar to most of you. It's a subprime recession in 2008. What's interesting with the subprime recession is recovery was not complete until 2017. It took almost 9 years to get back to pre-subprime recession. And so just as we were coming out of that subprime and we had 2 or 3 years of normalcy, we got hit by the COVID 2020. And as you all know, we have not recovered fully from that 2020 COVID. We're still trying to find out how can we recover from all the different things, especially the supply chain management issues, which is just now starting to normalize. And now we're hit with a very devastating set of circumstances. But let's take a look at what's our economy right now first. So our Hawaii economy right now is projected to be a 1.7% growth, which is a slow growth. And there is attached to that high uncertainty. The overall economic outlook characterizes uncertainty with factors about global economic conditions. As we all know, our tourism industry is not where it should be. And so now we are kind of thinking, oh, maybe we can recover after this. And then, boom, we get hit with the 2025 tariffs. So you can see that we're going, hopefully, not as deep as this arrow is indicating, but it's certainly going to take effect. And there's no doubt about it. And so the question becomes, what's going to happen next? And as happened in the subprime as well as the COVID, whenever these economic conditions change, what's going to happen is that there's going to be a series of economic activity. Companies right now, and if you're running a company, I'm sure you are doing all kind of research or experimenting with different ways in which to mitigate this new economic conditions. And this is something that we are kind of talking about this evening. And the reason is that it's like that diagram I have up there. It's a wave effect. Whatever happens is going to spread out. And so as these waves spread out economically, businesses have to figure out, how can I make those little waves as small as possible? And what happens here is that, hey, Chris, I think there's two people in the waiting room. Okay. So here's the question. So all of us are asking, well, what are we going to do? What's going to happen? How are we going to take care of this? When is, and all these questions of where, what, why, and how. And that's right now at top of mind of almost every business owner, every employee, and the public. So what are we going to do about it? The good news is that we have enough time to pivot. And with the slightly calming of the trade wars at this point for about 90 days, we can make a lot of adjustments to try to mitigate those little ripples so that whatever happens is not as devastating as we might think it could be. So let's take a look at the key question. It really is, where do I start? So I'm sort of assuming that most of you are here this evening to try and answer this question. Where do I start? I'm sure all of us here this evening is concerned. So one of the places that you might want to look first in terms of a pivot is to look at your revenue models and streams. And this is a case where securing multiple revenue streams are more than ever crucial. And the reason is, at this point, the more revenue streams, ways to make money, ways to get money flowing into your company will help to diversify and strengthen your financial position, but also may even open up different opportunities. This strategy has always been a long-term strategy for many, many successful companies who realize that economic conditions change really rapidly. And if we have a system in place of multiple streams, we can mitigate the ups and downs of economic situations. So this evening, what I'd like to do is to really throw some ideas towards your way and have you sort of reflect back in how can we pivot as a company, as individuals. How can we pivot to try and mitigate those waves that's going to come? It's not if it's going to come, it's when it's going to come. It's a case of how much can we lessen its effect. And so we're going to look at several types of revenue models. And as we go through this, it's not And what I want to have you take away from this is I want you to, as we go through each one of these, I'm not going to go in each one in depth, but I want to help bring up a conversation in each one to help you trigger. Maybe you can say to yourself, just possibly, this is something I can do that I'm not currently doing. And so we want to look at, have you all right now, write your current, if you're running a company or you own a company, write down what is your current revenue stream. If you don't own a company or you're not running a company, you're here to just sort of take a look at what's happening. You might want to do it from your personal standpoint as well. But I want you right now to take a minute or two to think about what are your current revenue streams. All right, I think hopefully you've done so. So the next thing I want you to do is to really, as we go through our talk story session on the multiple ways to look at revenue streams, I want you to try to say, can you add one or more new streams as we go through it? This is what the challenge is. This is the challenge I want to pose to you. As we go through each of the discussions, try to see, is this something that I can use in my current company or my current position? And just jot it down someplace. Just put it in, jot some idea as I'm discussing each area. I want you to think, oh, maybe I can use it, and just jot it down as a note. And at some point after this evening, as you go back and reflect on everything you're doing, you might want to go back and look at it and try to see. Again, the idea is let's try to put things so that you can try it out, take a look at it, and maybe do some pivots in terms of your current revenue streams and the way your company makes money. So any questions right now where I want to take all of you? Yes? You all good? All right. Let's get to each one of these. So let's go back and share the screen. Hey, Chris, can you see my screen?
Not right now. Nope, cannot.
No, that's what I thought. Let me try to get back to that. That's what I thought. Okay. All right.
There we go.
Can you see it now?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thanks. So the first one, of course, is what everyone has right now. It's called transaction revenue. Transaction revenue, it's a sale of a product, one-time sale, either direct sale, retail or wholesale. It's a single, transaction. In terms of services, like direct haircut, plumbing repairs. So almost all I'm sure, this device is, oh yeah, I'm doing that right now. But what we want to do is take a look at this and look to see, is there anything else we can do when we go through the others? The next one up is called recurring revenue. Let me move this aside so you can see some of this stuff. Recurring revenue, and what this is really looking at how to get income from ongoing payments on a regular intervals. The one that really intrigues me often is this subscription fees. So a lot of times we talk about subscription fees and we think about, magazine, wine of the month club, Amazon Prime is, again, something. I want you to start to think, can you create a subscription plan? If you look to the left on transactional, you're selling products one at a time. Can you create a program or some kind of promotion in which you convert some of these one-time sales into a subscription plan? As an example, if somebody is constantly coming to your site, they have to travel, and sometimes you run out of product. And in this case, they may arrive and you're out of product, and so they're disappointed. if you would say, well, look, would you like to have a monthly subscription on certain items, well, cupcakes, for as an example. And so when you ever come to your store, if you're a cupcakes pastry shop, it's always there because they have a subscription. It's almost like a guaranteed order. Or can you create a little club, like a wine of the month club? You can be a mochi of the month club, something of that sort, in which you take these single transactions, but then on your loyal customers, create a program in which they are always guaranteed product under a subscription fee. It's almost like a club. So you might want to think about that. The other one is membership fees. You might want to, again, start up another version in which you charge membership. And the membership could have different types of benefits. If you're running a service company, you may add certain benefits. As an example, I have Costco up there, and Costco's revenue model really sets up that Costco exists primarily due to its membership fees and has profitability from their product sales, but most of their profitability comes from membership fees. And so this is another way for you to take a look at, can I set up some kind of uh, you know, club or some kind of way in which I can set up membership fees. It could be a discount club or it could something of that sort in which you are currently taking your product, selling it, or your services, and then start to combine it in such a way that your prime customers will be willing to pay to be part of this membership. Again, this is all, just touching upon it, and I challenge you to start to be creative in looking at how can you create more recurring revenue under these plans of having continuous types of revenue instead of sort of relying only on the single transaction side. The other one on the bottom, which may be hard to see because of the bar, is rental and leasing fees. And sometimes you have equipment that is not in use, so can you rent that out? Or you may have space that is not being used. Can you rent that out? And there are vehicles that you maybe not have is not in use at this time. So you might want to look at your current assets and say, do I have excess capacity that I'm not currently using? And perhaps I can go out and have some rental to, rent it out to some of your customers or even some of your competitors, because it's doing you nothing in terms of revenue if it's sitting idle and not being put to use. So that's something else you might want to look at. Do you have excess capacity or equipment, space, or vehicles that you can possibly convert into some kind of rental? So these are two of the more popular types of looking at creating revenue streams. Yell out if you have any questions that you'd like to sort of investigate further. The next one is service fees. I keep moving this bar around so you can see it. So service revenue, generate income by providing service, often charged on a one-time basis. Now, this is a consulting and advisory. So do you have an expertise that perhaps you are willing to set up a consulting or advisory for a fee? And oftentimes you might say, well, I'm not a lawyer. So one of the things, if you are for example, if you are a baker and somebody wants to know more about starting a bake shop and you're willing to help them along, you might be able to charge an advisory fee. And so in any particular area where you have an expertise and you're willing to share the expertise with somebody who is willing to pay for it, you might want to look at it from that standpoint, that this also drives revenue into your company. Also, what is really popular now is creating little workshops and classes about your businesses. And this is a really popular forum right now, especially online, in which a lot of companies are doing workshops and classes in terms of maybe producing something or showing how to do something. but it's all for a fee. And you might want to start to think about, can I go out and teach people how to do origami or things of that sort, and have a slight fee to charge. It has two purposes. One of which, it brings additional revenue to the company, but it also promotes your company, and it promotes your company in such a way that you have a competitive edge because you are now seen as an expert in a particular field. So looking at instructional and training as a service revenue is pretty much a multifaceted way to build your brand, build your company, as well as drive additional revenue. And you might just have pure service, DoorDash, baggage fees. So some of you may have a brick and mortar shop, but some of your customers may want delivery fees. So you may want to think about charging delivery fees for products or for services. So this is an area for you to sort of look through. What I want to really look at, so think through your business and say, can I find a way in which to charge some kind of service fee for whatever you think you can possibly get through. Let me stop right there. I'm going to stop right here. Oh, let's stop short. So, any questions right now about those three? Yeah. If not, I'll stop occasionally to ask this out. Some of this might be, like, what is he talking about? But I want to have you explore each one of those so that you can sort of be, really looking to add one or two more ways to add streaming. Let's go back and share. Usage fees is another way. Usage fees is income generated from the amount of time a product or service is used. So again, do you have excess warehousing space? Do you have things that are not currently in use by your company, but you can temporarily have people use it for a very short term? And again, usage fees and rental fees are two different things. Usage fees is for temporary, like they can use it for an hour and you charge for hourly fees. Very similar to what we is happening at the Wahoo Value Added Product Development Center, where you can book kitchen time and by usage fees. Also, do you have ways in which you can share some of your utilities and they'll pay for part of it? Again, it's an idea that you might want to think through. The other one is short-term usage, equipment, spaces, vehicles, rideshare, parking fees. Now, this is something I really like you to sort of think about, the short-term usage of equipment, spaces, vehicles, rideshare, parking fees. And one of the things that is really important about short-term uses is that I want you to start to look at the capacity of your company. And if there's any excess capacity, can you turn it into some kind of revenue driving entity? Again, I wanted to take a hard look at your operations and see if there is excess capacity in which you can convert it into some kind of usage fee revenue to add to your current revenue streams. The next one is called intermediation fees. Intermediation this is your brokerage fee, and this is something in which you can charge for facilitating a transaction between one or more people. One of the things that's interesting about this one is, again, you may be in position into bringing two people, two entities together for a certain transaction. And one of the more famous ones is eBay. eBay is really a intermediation fee where you bring the buyers and the seller together. So can you, in your business, can you design a way in which you can be a brokerage and charge a brokerage fee or seller's fee, in which you bring two people together because you have many contacts, and can you use your contacts and to bring them to some kind of transaction. This is, again, an area which sometimes, if you think about it very closely, you have an ability to do this kind of intermediation or market exchanges. One of the things that's happening in the agriculture area is there are farmers with excess product, and there are value-added producers who are looking for products. And so both are searching it. And one of the things that can be done is you set up a finders or market exchange in which you can do that type of service for a fee. So this is intermediation fees, being a broker. And again, this takes some thinking through. But I believe if you start thinking, you can be an intermediary and make some additional revenue through that. Now, advertising revenue, this is everything. Sometimes when we look at it, generate income from selling advertising space on the communications platform. Print, of course, if you're not running a newsletter, you might want to consider starting up a newsletter, and in that newsletter, keeping your customers informed of what's happening in terms of even promotion, what's happening with the company, making them feel that they're part of an open community. But at the same time, you could be selling some kind of advertising in your newsletter. And this could be even though it says print, it could be an online newsletter. It's just very similar to the newsletters that we have at the Wahiwa Value Added Product Development Center. But you want to look at really saying, perhaps, I can generate some advertising revenue through my newsletter, or if you run a magazine. And so the print media online is very popular. In terms of blogs, if you have a blog or you have a website or you're on social media, you might just want to look at, can you advertise? One of the things is, in terms of advertising, it could be complementary products to your product or service that you're selling. And this happens quite often in that if you are let's say, you're a pasta maker, as an example, and you might want to have somebody that has pasta sauce, have them advertise with you on your newsletter. That's another way for you to look at it. Again, you might want to advertise complementary products to your product or your service. The other one is that, I lost that guy. The other one is in-store or exterior or vehicle on-premise advertising. It's not uncommon to have, again, complementary companies put up signs or logos in your store. If you have a brick and mortar store, even if you have an online store, have them at the bottom and have them give you a small fee for that advertisement or logo. Again, one of the things is that you have if you have a delivery, you might want to add that complementary logos to your delivery trucks or your cars. Again, look at to see which are appropriate companies that you might want to ask them to, if they'd like to advertise in your store, if you have a brick and mortar, or online, or again, just outside of your store. So this is another way to look at driving some revenue into your organization. So let me stop right there before I get to that. So one of the things in this session is probably not going to run the full hour, but I want to start to really stimulate in terms that this revenue streams are incremental from your main revenue stream. Again, every small amount of additional income that you can generate helps to offset the ups and downs of the economic situation. Again, the idea is to minimize those ripples that's going to hit. And if you have different small ways to offset these ripples, then the total effect of you could be very minimal. It could be even positive. But I want you to start to think as we go through each of these, to look at as small incremental steps, not large revenue generators, but small incremental steps to help your company sort of minimize those little waves that's going to come up from the major impact of these trade wars. So again, I want you to start to think in incremental steps. Let's go back towards the remainder. Project revenues is another way. Can you create? Can you construct something? Can you help create develop a product? Can you again have training, educational? Event planning is another place that you might want to look at. So when we talk about project revenue, it's not just helping to build a structure or to develop a new type of product or educational. Event planning can be a huge part of this project revenue segment. If you're, excuse me again, if you're producing, let's say, patelis, can you create a package in which it can go into some kind of party planning? If so, again, the idea is, can you take whatever you're currently selling, whether product or service, and can you incorporate and create a package that can be used for some kind of event? It could be holiday events, could be wedding events, anywhere in which you can get your product or your service sold in large bulk due to very specialized types of events. Graduation is just huge at this point. So a lot of event planning can use uh, uh, can be applied during the graduation season. So again, once you start to think about the project revenue, do you have the ability to help somebody build a structure or help somebody create a new product, or again, run training and educational classes, workshops, and as well as can you look at your current offerings and try to convert that into some way in which you can participate in events. This is super popular now, especially with young people. Affiliate marketing. So affiliate marketing is always online. But it's really generating commission by promoting other companies, and then you get a small commission based on different types of formats. So this again, for a lot of young people, especially young people in college, they are really big on affiliate marketing. And what it is that it's a way to get a small sided percentage depending on the platform that you're using, the program that you're using. So you got pay for sale. I mean, you get a percentage for every item that's sold, or pay for a lead, and you might get a commission, a small commission, if you generate some kind of lead for a company. Pay for per click has been around forever, in which every time somebody clicks on something, you get one quarter of a percent of 1 cent, but it adds up over the hundreds of thousands of clicks and cost per action. Again, this affiliate market is very popular, and you might want to look into it. I won't recommend any particular platform or areas. You might want to just look at it. But if you think this is something that you would be able to do, you might want to look at it because it's very popular, and there's a lot of platforms that you can use to get into affiliate marketing. It also is a great way to get your company brand up in front. This next one, licensing fees. Now, this is another area that's I I, I personally sort of like. It's a generate income from use of intellectual property of specific area. Franchise fees. We'll have a next slide over. It's going to be more intricate on that. It's like L&L, in which you would then allow people to use your business format to, and then you would charge them a fee for the business format. Or if you are going to you're not able to market in a different territory, you might want to have somebody pay for a fee to use your trademark or use your copyright, even allow them to use some of your patents, in which, because you are geographically, you cannot get there. but you might be able to use these licensing fees to have them trademark. And L&L is famous for this. The L&L business is largely a franchise fee base, but it also allow for use of trademarks. Again, copyrights is another one. If you have recipes as an example, you might want to, you know, have people use your recipes for a copyright fee, so they can actually use it. Media fees and use of content. And again, this is again big on online, in which you have a lot of influencers. So a lot of times what happens is that you have interesting content about certain parts of your business or certain parts of your expertise, and you might want to have somebody use that content for their own purposes, and you might want to charge them a media fee. So these are licensing fees. Again, it's about intellectual property. And each one of you have some kind of intellectual property that you might be able to help generate, again, incremental revenues to your company. The next set is franchise fees. So we're going to go into a little deeper side of franchise fees. This is a business format, and this is McDonald's. The business format franchise, if you have a business and instead of you starting a second unit or second, uh, which is costly, you may want to just sell that format to somebody else who will then replicate your business under your name, and they will pay you a franchise fee. And so McDonald's LL is in that format, in which a private owner will then accept creating a business in the same likeness of McDonald's or L&L, and for the use of the name, use of the recipes, they will pay a franchise fee. The other one is the distribution format. Toyota is distributed in the state of Hawaii by Servco Pacific. So Servco Pacific, even though most people think of them as the number one Toyota people, which they are, but they're also paying a distribution fee to distribute the Toyota uh, vehicles. So you might want to, instead of having your own distribution, you might want to set up a way in which a distributor can use your product, and they pay you a distribution fee. Again, this is where you're looking to expand geographically is usually the most typical way to do so, because you physically can't move to an area, or you physically are not able financially to move to the area. You might want to sell a distribution fee in which a particular organization will be able to sell your product on an exclusive basis. The other one is a manufacturing format, and this is Coca-Cola. Odom from Alaska is actually the bottler for Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola, most areas, is a franchise in which a bottling company will have the Coca-Cola formula and will have produce the Coca-Cola beverages and variations of those beverages under certain licensing from the Coca-Cola Corporation. And maybe you would be able to do similar with, you have special recipes that, again, you want to distribute and you don't have the financial resources to do so. Maybe you can use a franchise fee with manufacturing format. The last one on the franchise is called job franchise. This is small scale people in which primarily do services like event planning, travel agency, lawn care. You might have a central company, your current company, and you might want to set up small franchises in which people will be able to either, if you're in the lawn care business, right, instead of having you spread out geographically, you might sell franchises to your particular company brand and your company services, and have them pay you a franchise fee for the use of the name and to actually follow your business format. So this is franchise fees. And again, it is becoming quite popular in many circles to create these franchises, mini franchises as well. So, is there any questions right now? Just yell out. Okay, so let's talk about now that I've gone through about eight or 10 of those things. Let's take a look at your business and see what we can do in terms of maybe how to implement some of these, different types of revenue models. So let's go back to slides. The good news is that you have time to adapt and refine continuously. So one of the things you want to do is to have to look at, you know, have time to develop customized revenue streams. So I want you to start to take a look at your business, whether you own it, you're managing it, or even conceptualizing to start one up. First thing we like to do is, okay, so assess your current revenue stream. I asked you earlier at the start of the evening to write down your current revenue streams. And I want you, after this evening, take a look at the current stream and see which of the streams, if you have multiples, is doing productive work and which one is underperforming. Because if you have an underperforming stream, you might want to look at either changing it or trying to fix it in terms of the current economic situation. A lot of your streams were set up in probably good economic situations in which the economic situation allowed for these streams to be very productive. But as the economic conditions change, the productivity of each of those revenues may be waning, or you may have another stream that may be advantageous in this current economy. Now, as an example, again, if you have a single purchase model and people come to your brick and mortar or your site, on a regular basis, and they have to come, can you make it easier for them who now, for instance, are or trying to save on gas money and they won't come to your store quite as often? Can you do things like delivery to them, or can you do other things uh, in terms of creating a subscription program in which you can have these products available on a regular basis without them coming too many times? So again, this is again, I'm just throwing things out, but I want you to start to use some of your imagination to see what was my current situation and what do I need to do to make my current. And once you've done that, the next thing you want to do is to look at new revenue streams. And we've investigated with talk story a little bit about each of the 10 streams models that we discussed. So can you go back and then look at each one of them? You have access to the slides in the video. Go back and take a look at it and say, all right, let's experiment a little bit. Let's try and put what would happen if I did this? What would happen if we did a subscription? What would happen if we did a membership? What would happen if we did some event planning? Again, the idea is now's the time to do these what ifs and see it into your current business and see if you can make it in such a way that possibly if you introduce this into your practice, it will generate additional incremental revenue. Now is a great time to explore because again, we have this 90-day pause, and now it's a great time to explore. Always go back to your customers with these ideas and ask them, what do you think? The other thing is that start to customize whatever you're doing with product or service. Start to customize and innovate. Try to do personalization in terms of your top 20 customers. So these top customers of yours are the ones who's going to provide you very strong revenue given any kind of economic situations. So you want to make sure that you are aware who they are and you're aware of the types of demands that they may want as the economic situation change, and that you're able to then customize parts of your offering, whether product offering, service offering, in such a way that you sort of make them feel very, very special. This is critical in terms of stabilizing your revenue, in that it is this group of the top 20% of your customers drives 80% of your total revenue. You make sure that you are aware of what their needs are and you're able to customize your offerings to them as much as possible. And in this customization, you may be able to charge additional fees. So again, the idea is go back to your customer base, to the most loyal customers, and start to really engage with them to see as this economic situation changes. Again, this is currently it's very fluid, but you can see where the ripples are starting to take effect. And as the ripples take more and more effect, you got to stay really close to your customers, your top 20 customers, the 20 percentile customers, to see where you customize and innovate. And the last thing you want to do is constantly monitor feedback from your customers. This is, like, again, one of the things when the economic waters become very, very, turbid. One thing you want to do is you really want to stay on top of your top 20% customers and look at how do you need to change how you do business with them. Like, at each of these areas that you look at is going to be important from the standpoint of what does your customers need in terms of services that addresses the current economic situation. And if there are areas in which you can make these adjustments, make the adjustments, and also see if in doing these adjustments, can you get additional revenue from them? So these are tips in which it's very important, especially in this current economic turbidity, that we start to look at where we are, what we need to do, go back to our customers to make sure we understand what our customers are looking for in terms of changes, and also make sure that they are always top of mind as you move forward, and always looking to see that you can stabilize your current revenue, but also be able to add incremental revenue so that each of those little effects of the trade wars is not going to be so impactful that you put in a very harsh position. Again, any questions or any concerns right now before we wrap up? We have 7 minutes left. No? No questions? Any concerns? We all good? All right. Okay. Let me go back and finish up the evening.
All right. If no
I got,
questions, or do you have a little bit more, Dag?
I got a couple more slides.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. You can send it right there. So, if you do have, I know you may not have it now, but if you do want to have a one-on-one consultation with myself, either in person or Zoom, please contact the Whitehall Value Added Product Development Center, and we'd be more than happy to go ahead and set up an appointment, again, in person or in Zoom, to talk story about your situation and what we can help you with. We'd also like you to schedule a tour at the center. We are constantly evolving, constantly changing. There's always new things happening. So if you've been to our center before, you might want to make another trip out to see what's new. And if you've never been out there, we'd love to see you. And we're about to introduce a new program called Kinaoli Entrepreneurship. Kinaoli is an ancient Hawaiian term, and they started creating a product in such a way that is really customer focused. And so we are about to launch this program. It's designed for the early aspiring entrepreneurs with little to no business experience to develop value-added agricultural-based product as well as gain essential go-to-market business. These are for pre-revenue. If you're interested and you have an idea for a agricultural value-added product, look for our announcement in which we will start our enrollment process. It's an 8-week course, and it's going to be exciting. So hopefully, look for our announcement for enrollment details. And the last slide is Mikhail Aloha Pumia. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Awesome. Dag, thank you so much. And as Dag mentioned, yeah, please stay tuned for more information about his Kinoole course. You'll be able to find out more on our newsletter and also our social media. We put out e-blasts pretty frequently through the month. So stay tuned for more. And with that, Dag, yeah, thank you again so much for your insight and expertise. Thank you all in the audience tonight for joining. And please, yeah, do follow up to schedule a tour or schedule some consultation time with Dag. And as I mentioned earlier, a recording of this session will be available on our YouTube channel under Leeward Community College. So thank you all and have a great rest of your evening.